Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder what's really on your plate? Well, beyond the actual food itself. Today, we're literally looking under the hood of the business of food. We're going to see exactly how the hidden footprints of our absolute favorite dining spots are tracked, quantified, and measured on a massive global scale.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We're going to cover the restaurant industry landscape, measuring sustainability with SASB, planet, resource and waste management, product, safety and nutrition, people, labor and supply chains, and then wrap it all up with the takeaway.
Right, jumping into Section 1, the restaurant industry landscape.
It seems like a super simple question, right? What exactly makes up the restaurant industry? I mean, we all eat out. But when you're a financial or regulatory body trying to set rules for everything from a tiny neighborhood coffee cart to a massive Michelin-star dining room, you have to precisely categorize this absolute giant of an industry. So, to do that, the standard broadly divides the whole industry into three major subcategories. First up, you've got limited service eating places, think your fast food joints. Then we step up to casual full-service eating places, and finally, upscale full-service eating places. And what's really fascinating here is that despite the massive differences in price, the ambiance, the level of service, they all share these incredibly complex operational footprints that have to be carefully tracked. And this brilliantly illustrates the core operational differences. On one side, you've got the limited service model. You know the drill. Customers order and pay before they even take a bite, and fast food represents the lion's share here. On the other side, the full-service model, whether casual or upscale, is all about on-premises consumption. It demands way more service and typically reflects higher quality food and, of course, higher prices. Yet, no matter the model, they both consume absolutely massive amounts of energy, water, and labor. Moving on to Section 2, measuring sustainability with SASB. So how could we possibly measure the impact of both a quick drive-thru and a fancy fine dining establishment using the exact same metrics? Well, the answer lies in the SSB standards, which are now part of the IFRS Foundation. Think of these standards as a universal yardstick. They require businesses to disclose highly specific sustainability-related financial info to their investors. It's basically a way to standardize the tracking of risks and opportunities across the entire food and beverage sector. Just look at the sheer volume and precision of data being tracked across these totally different business models. The standards literally force companies to quantify their impact using very strict units of measure. So energy consumption, it isn't just a vague, oh, we used a lot of electricity kind of concept. No, it's tracked strictly in gigajoules. Water is tracked in thousands of cubic meters and waste in metric tons. It completely, 100%, standardizes how environmental impact is tracked. Which brings us to Section 3, Planet, Resource and Waste Management. Now, what's really interesting about this is that specific threshold, 1,000. When restaurants report their water usage, they are required to track freshwater consumption, especially in regions facing high water stress. But what exactly is fresh water? Well, the standard rigidly defines it as water having less than 1,000 parts per million of dissolved solids. It's exactly that level of hyper-specific detail that stops companies from greenwashing their resource numbers. And then, oh man, there's the massive issue of waste. The standards demand total clarity on what constitutes actual food waste. It is specifically defined as food and inedible parts, like bones or pits or peels, for which the entity has absolutely no further use. Crucially, this definition officially removes surplus food from the equation if it can still be fit for human consumption and donated. So a restaurant can't just lump perfectly good, donatable food in with their landfill numbers and call it a day. Beyond just the food itself, the packaging waste is heavily scrutinized. Restaurants have to track the total weight of their packaging, including all those takeout containers and secondary cardboard boxes. They have to break down exactly what percentage is made from recycled content, what comes from renewable biomass sources, and what is totally virgin, non-renewable material. In a world where regulations around single-use plastics are getting tighter every day, tracking this is just absolutely essential for keeping compliance costs down. All right, Section 4, Product, Safety, and Nutrition. So food safety is paramount, obviously, and it's notoriously tricky to manage across massive global franchise chains. The metric that really matters here is the critical violation. We're not talking about a minor paperwork error here. This is a violation from an official oversight body that poses a clear, immediate risk of foodborne illness transmission or contamination. Tracking the percentage of restaurants getting hit with these violations gives investors a stark, unfiltered view of a company's operational risk. And, when things do go wrong, we have recalls. Restaurants have to track the total number and weight of food product recalls, measured in metric tons. And they categorize these. You have involuntary recalls, which are mandated by regulatory authorities because of safety defects, and voluntary recalls, which the entity initiates itself to pull risky products. Managing these metrics effectively and actually fixing the underlying issues is literally how a restaurant protects its brand from catastrophic long-term damage. But this product pillar isn't just about avoiding illness. It is a huge part of public health. With growing global concerns around obesity, restaurants are now tracking the percentage of their meal options that actually meet dietary guidelines. And crucially, they track the revenue generated from those healthy options. And honestly, even more fascinating, they have to monitor their advertising impressions made specifically on children, defined as kids 12 and under, to see exactly how much of that marketing is actually promoting nutritious food. Okay, shifting gears to Section 5, People, Labor, and Supply Chains. So the crucial point is that this is an incredibly labor-intensive industry with notoriously high turnover. It's just a fact. But for investors looking at the numbers, not all turnover is equal. Restaurants must separately track voluntary turnover, when an employee actually chooses to leave, like a resignation, versus involuntary turnover, things like dismissals or layoffs. High turnover hits the bottom line so hard through constant hiring and training costs, making this distinction absolutely vital for checking operational efficiency. They also track wages, specifically looking at the percentage of employees earning the minimum wage. But think about it. How do you standardize that globally when some regions literally don't even have an official mandated minimum wage? Well, the standard dictates that in those specific jurisdictions, the 10th percentile hourly wage of all earners in that area is used as the strict benchmark. Problem solved. And this people pillar extends way, way beyond the restaurant walls and right into the supply chain. Two major animal welfare metrics that are closely tracked are cage-free eggs and gestation crate-free park. And the definitions are highly specific here too. A cage-free environment absolutely must provide unrestricted access to food and water and the freedom to roam. Meanwhile, tracking gestation crates focuses on eliminating those restrictive enclosures that prevent a breeding sow from moving dynamically. Now, why track all of this so closely? Simply because the supply chain is an absolute minefield of massive global risks that can severely impact a restaurant's ability to survive. Climate change is constantly altering crop and livestock availability. Tightening fuel regulations are hiking up transport costs. Varying global labor rights and sudden animal welfare incidents can literally destroy a brand's reputation overnight. That's exactly why third-party environmental and social certifications are treated as pure gold by investors. Let's move to Section 6 and see how this all builds into the takeaway. So here is the absolute core thesis of everything we've talked about. Managing these metrics isn't just some boring compliance exercise or a flashing PR stunt. Whether we are talking about grabbing food at a massive fast food drive-thru or sitting down in an exclusive upscale dining room, tracking energy use, ensuring food safety, and managing labor turnover equals fundamentally better business. It minimizes those hidden operational risks, it helps capture emerging health-conscious markets, and ultimately, it protects shareholder value over the long haul. So I want to leave you with this one provocative thought. Next time you eat out, whether you're just grabbing a quick burger on the go or sitting down for a full 3-course meal, what hidden footprints are sitting right there on your receipt? From the gigajoules of energy used to cook it, to the vast supply chain of the ingredients, all the way to the exact wage percentile of the person handing it to you. The data is all there if you just know how to measure it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what's under the hood.